One sunny morning, silver slime's incredibly rare monsters appeared in the clearing. Two guys were watching them from behind the trees. One said to the other, "Shh. It'll be okay if you just let them go." But he disobeyed him and rushed into the clearing. The young man shouted, trying to stop his comrade, but he wasn't listening. He was rapidly approaching the slimes the next moment. There was a critical hit that tore the core in half. The guy swung his sword left and right, chopping up silver slimes. In a matter of seconds, the clearing became empty of monsters. The stranger's eyes glowed with a bright green fire player. Takahashi Yukito received the following S-rank items: silver slime armor gloves and boots. The hero had an audience. A young man in a green hoodie said, "Got him and everyone else from the critical hit, and the loot seems to be very rare." The young man thought his acquaintance was a real lucky man. The guy himself couldn't believe that he had managed to obtain 3 items of S-level equipment. Heroes thought it was too good to be true. It was like a reward for all the obstacles he had overcome in his past life, his fate in his previous life. Bronze-ranked adventurer, Takahashi Yukito. He was on the first floor of the Tokyo dungeon. Suddenly, one of the men present showed the display of his smartphone. The monsters had gotten here as well. Now, it's very dangerous for people to be outside. One of the guys exclaimed that it was better to go deeper into the dungeon, but some of them thought that the monsters from above would catch up with them. The young man turned to the old man, advising him to flee as well, for now was not the time to hunt slimes. The boy put his hand on his grandfather's shoulder, but he brushed it away. The old man stubbornly walked forward straight toward the slimes, ignoring the young man's warnings. Other people weren't going to stop him, for they thought Grandpa was crazy. Some young man pushed the old man and he lost his balance. The elderly man was on the ground, his hood off his head. The decades flew by. Quickly, things have changed since the adventures came out. Individual types of development have emerged in the familiar characterization system. The level only goes up when you defeat another monster, when the growth level changes. So do the characteristics the young man dreamed of raising his strength by at least 5 more units. Sometimes adventures are even given magic or skills. This is common. The old man rose to his feet and activated the scoreboard with his accomplishments. Takahashi Yukito has reached level 98. His strength, speed, and stamina reached 5. Agility reached 4. Magic power reached 3. And resistance to elements reached 2. The man has lived a lot and seen different things along the way. He tried his best to reach a high level. The young man was giving weak monsters. It helped to get to level 98. No one could beat Takahashi Yuko. He's the only one who could reach such heights in his lifetime that day. Despite his age, the old man overcame a lot of slimes. The blows were so strong that even the sword broke into 2 pieces. The maximum level is 99. The last one left, his efforts will fully pay off once he reaches the top just a little longer, and the dream will finally come true. The old man lunged at the silver slimes with renewed vigor to gain the missing points. The hero rushed at the monsters with renewed vigor. He had to reach his goal as quickly as possible. Surely the growth of characteristics was just delayed. The man quickly got to a huge slime. It was translucent with a large core in the middle as the weapon broke. The old man tore the monster apart with his teeth. It was at this point that the hero finally received a message from the system. Takahashi Yukito, you have reached the maximum level. Congratulations! The man couldn't believe his own eyes. What he had been waiting for so long had finally happened. Finally, he was rewarded. For his so much hard work, his strength had finally increased by 1 unit. Takahashi's achievement board has been updated. His level is now 99. His strength has reached a value of 6. I can't believe they're kidding me. The man helplessly fell to the ground. Had it all been in vain? Yukito was crushed, so he won't get anything. Hope had left the hero's heart. He had no strength even to get to his feet. Monsters from the darkness were rapidly approaching the clearing. Has he lived his life for nothing? Everyone looked down at him, laughing behind his back. Takahashi didn't even get to save his own loving. Mommy, the old man's whole life flashed before his eyes. It seems to be coming to an end. Tears flowed from the hero's eyes. He was sorry that the goal had not been reached. Takahashi Yukito no longer has the strength to resist another moment, and his life in this reality will end. The old body will be crushed by the demon's giant paw. The level ended with the death of a participant. There was an error in Takahashi Yuki's characterization system. The system has applied a life restoration and rollback function. The player's heart started beating again. Reveal hidden parameters, accrued bonus characteristics as compensation. Unique. Characteristic points plus 99, 999. He opened his eyes, but his vision was still not focusing well. Suddenly, the young man heard that he was being greeted the next moment. He saw a smiling girl who said that Mr. Takahashi, Yukito Takahashi, had become an adventurer, the green-eyed. Hiro was stunned by what he heard. Was all this really happening to him? He looked around. The girl asked, "Is something wrong?" Takahashi pulled himself together and thanked him for the pendant a little later, when the young man was alone with his thoughts. He wondered what the hell was going on here. The hero stared at the screen of his smartphone, sweat beading on his face. The boy thought, "If I'm not mistaken, this is the day I registered with the Adventurers Guild." Takahashi Yukito didn't understand what had happened. He was able to remember that right before he died, he had seen something about bonus characteristics. He opens the window. Everything is just as it was, then how could it be otherwise? Suddenly, the hero noticed something that interested him. The boy's eyes widened in surprise. What's that all about? There is a new column in the table. Luck, a characteristic of luck that wasn't there before, appeared here. Surely, this characteristic must have been a hidden parameter in his past life. I find that hard to believe, Takahashi Yukito. I don't understand how this could happen to him. A man with 70 years of failure behind him, the young man remembered how old he had been. Not so long ago. Everything is great now. Just the right opportunity to test a new characteristic in a slime hunt. Moments later, the hero found himself in a Tokyo dungeon on the first floor called Imperishable Footprints. Yukito saw his target almost immediately. It was as if Slammy had been waiting for him. Him among the grass on purpose. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, the hero noticed some movement. When he realized what it was, he couldn't believe his own eyes. It was a silver slime, a very rare monster. He had only met him once in his entire past life. The silver slime then immediately ran away as soon as it saw the hunter. These slimes grant an incredible amount of experience points, but they are renowned for their elusiveness. Takahashi Yukito thought, just one step, and my sword will get him. He was rapidly approaching his goal when suddenly something flashed in the grass, and arrow stabbed into the ground right at Yuk's foot. The hero heard someone's apology. Tahashi thought to himself, "You stupid bastard, the rare silver slime should have run away from such a noise, but it stayed put." The next moment, the fearful monster prepared to attack the hero. It was something unbelievable. Slime snapped out of his seat and approached quickly. The young man prepared to repel the attack. The guy's sword literally ran into a silver slime. The tip of his weapon easily reached the monster's core. It couldn't take the impact and shattered into pieces. This wind immediately raised his level in the game. The sword broke with a single blow. These silver monsters are very strong now. Takahashi Yuko needs to acquire a new weapon. The young man noticed something shining on the grass nearby. He couldn't believe his own eyes shrank. Loot is a cool silver sword. The hero was pleased with such. A great start. He had already obtained a large silver slime sword feature increased attack power, 30% chance to miss the target. Due to Silver Slim's dodging tendency, Yukito was satisfied he was going to have a good hunt. The young man looked around and frozen place in amazement. There were 4 silver slimes sitting in the neighboring clearing at the same time. This was truly incredible luck. The hero even wondered if he was dreaming. In the next moment, 4 monsters simultaneously flew straight at the guy. They were very belligerent. There's no other way out. We'll have to fight. Given the peculiarities of his new weapon, Takahashi Yukito realized that it wouldn't be possible to destroy everyone at the same time. Punch after punch he delivered. Several critical hits, the hero made it through in a matter of minutes. Luck really works. A critical hit and a magnificent armor appeared on the grass. Somehow, it all worked out. The young man won them all at once. His hunt continued for about another hour. During this time, Takahashi Yuko met 10 silver slimes from each defeated monster. The hero dropped a rare loot. There was nothing left but to recognize that luck is not an empty sound. The hero was pleased with such an acquisition of his. This is really something incredible. The adventurer collapsed on the grass, savoring his current accomplishments. Yukito lay on the ground and looked up at the sky. He thought, now that I have this kind of power, I can definitely become an outstanding person. Perhaps he can make his own family happy. How he could help all of his family. Suddenly the hero sat up abruptly. His handsome sister realized he once again had a home to return to. The young man raised his hand to the sky, dreaming years of loneliness. Now he has a chance to change all that. The young man rose to his feet. He really wants to go home. Now his apartment is 203, and the name on the sign is Takahashi. The hero's hands trembled slightly, and he reached for the doorknob. He realized it was better to calm down now. Why he was getting so worked up in the first place. The guy exhaled sharply, trying to calm the frantic rhythm of his heart. Takahashi. Yukito finally decided to open the door of his house, but before he could do so, the door opened on its own. The hero was looked at by his little sister. She wanted the same color. The girl was very happy about the appearance of her brother. The young man rushed to hug Nomi, who was a bit confused by this display of affection. The girl laughed and asked why it was Yukito acting like that. Was it really such a hidden camera prank? Naomi asked her brother to let her go, but he still held her tightly in his arms. The hero thought that this time he wouldn't let anyone hurt his family. Yukito won't let anyone else take his treasure. The hero told his sister everything that had happened to him. Belle was amazed. Could they really help save her mom? With this, Yukito replied, "Sure, it just takes a little effort." The next day, the guy sprang into action. He traded the rare items he had received with the money he received. The young man decided to get something. Takahashi attended the auction and bid 10 million for one lot. He managed to acquire the highest quality healing potion. The hero's next destination is a hospital. Yukito, along with Nozomi, approached the room where their mom was lying, and they opened the door after hearing permission to do so. As they entered the room, the relatives smiled at their mother. Mom was very happy about her children who came to visit her. She asked how they were doing. Yukito replied that they should be the ones asking about her business. Nozomi opened the box she had brought and showed her mom the delicious goodies. The woman said, "You shouldn't have spent so much on me. You should have eaten with that money yourself." The young man told his mother that she no longer had to worry about money, and the girl added that they had another gift. The patient face became surprised, and she inquired which one it was. Yukito replied, "He knows. It sounds weird, but Mom needs to drink this." He held out a bottle of elixir to the woman. Numi explained, "Big Brother made money in the dungeon and bought you this." The woman was surprised, for Yukito had just become an adventurer. How did he manage to earn so much money? The hero replied that he was just lucky. The dungeon was a big lottery. The son again asked his mother for a drink of the elixir and held out the bottle to her. The woman carefully uncorked the cork. She didn't argue and obediently poured the elixir into her mouth. The next moment, the real magic happened. The woman's body began to glow. Brother and sister kept their eyes on Mom. They were eagerly awaiting the result. The patient felt incredibly relieved, as if a heavy weight had fallen from her shoulders. It was much easier to breathe. The hero smiled in relief, for this was great news. Nozomi exclaimed up, "Good job, brother." The next moment, the woman said that the potion tasted nasty. Her son handed her a dessert that would help her get rid of the disgusting aftertaste of the medicine. When my mom was next seen by the doctor, he said the symptoms had subsided and the disease had stopped progressing. She needed to go to a short rehab afterward. The woman was finally released home and recovered. They can live, the three of them, under one roof again. It's like a happy dream for the first time in a long time. The woman was finally able to eat dinner at home. After lunch, she began washing her own dishes and told the children, "Nothing soothes like home." Walls. Nozomi was very happy that her mom was feeling better, but Yukito didn't think it was enough. The girl looked at her brother in surprise. She was waiting for an explanation. The hero replied that this potion is only a temporary measure it has. No power to cure the disease completely. This news upset the beauty. She asked what they should do. Then Yukito explained, "You need a much more possible thing like an actual magic elixir." His sister wondered if he was referring to something advertised. On TV, an item found by the world's best adventurer. It can be found 50 surfaces deep and can't be bought for any money. The sister added that this item is truly unique. Yukito agreed that was right. That was exactly what he was aiming for. A unique item is a special item that can only be disposed of by the person who found it, a reward that can be obtained without defeating a possible creature. Nozomi asked if we can't buy, then we'll just have to find it ourselves. The sister wanted to know if the brother could go down to that depth. The young man replied that in theory it could not be done, for he would die a terrible death on the way. The girl decided that in that case they couldn't get this miracle. Elixir, the hero smiled and decided to clarify. I said it was only in theory. Yukito thought that not only had he gotten lucky, but he had also retained knowledge from his past life. The young man remembered that this elixir could also be found on high surfaces. He had heard of one exception. The boss of the 20th floor is an ancient golem. The uniquely ferocious of it turns out to be the elixir they need, but the chance of this boss appearing is categorically small. They need a rare item from a rare boss is a matter of chance. The hero thought, in my previous life I've only heard of obtaining an elixir from this golem once. Now the young man was sure that with his current disposition everything would be fine. He would definitely find the elixir and save his mother. The sister noticed the suspicious look on her brother's face. Yukito asked, "Is he really that suspicious?" The girl winked. She thought her brother could do anything. The young man was greatly encouraged by his sister's words. It's nice when your family believes in you. But still, before going into the dungeon, the hero needs to prepare. Numi was stunned by this revelation. What exactly is meant by the word prepare? The hero was sure that everywhere and always a way could be found. Yukito walked over to the dresser where their family photo was framed. He needed to gather things to go deeper into the dungeon. It was worth starting with the gear. A large silver slime sword feature increased attack power. There is a 30% chance to miss the target, due to silver slime's tendency to dodge. Silver slime tear with a 33% chance can reduce the damage while the young man was packing. His sister watched him closely. She inquired of Yuko, "Are you getting ready to hit the road already?" The hero answered, "In the affirmative. Are you really going to go like that? Usually warriors wear heavy armor for a dungeon." Trey, the young man agreed, but explained that he was not strong enough to carry such a thing. The window of characteristics reveals a person's potential. The boy realized he could only hope for luck. With those stats he won't be able to pull a full outfit, so will just have to bring his sword. Yuko thought that there were many SK skills due to the level elevation. For example, Mighty Layered. Lunge was a combat skill that had a 30% chance of delivering 3 critical hits in a row. Nozomi asked, "You want to increase your performance. There's a 5th floor." The young man immediately remembered Alice's wreath. You can get liquid loot from the local monster's magic fruit. He is Yuko and will help Yuko. The sister asked that, one way or another, the brother take care of himself. The girl had packed him a snack for the road, though he'd be able to get enough fruit. Still, the boy thanked Numi sincerely for her concern. One package was displayed in the system window. The hero opened the door and left his home. He set out again for adventure. The forest was dark with ghostly purple mushrooms on the tree trunks of the plants. Predatory. Plants fed on insects after walking some more. The hero finally reached the 5th floor. It was called Alice's Wreath. Almost the entire space is filled with plant-type monsters, so it's easy to lose your way here, but the 5th floor was considered low level and had long since been cleared out by other adventurers. Yukito decided that as long as he had the map with him, there shouldn't be any problems. The hero continued his journey through the forest relying on his temper. He immediately spotted a den of ants, humanoid trees. The young man knew that the ants used mimicry to set up their sieges. That's why they look like trees. The guy agreed that their disguise was perfect. A closer look reveals that there are no veins on the leaves. The young man also noticed that the roots were growing in a strange direction. Ants use roots as people legs. They use it to move through the forest the next moment. The hero saw red eyes on the tree trunk. The guy was pleased with his find. The critical hit worked again. The forest monster was cut in half. Yuko thought it was enough just to anticipate their appearance, and it was a done deal. The next moment, the young man received his prize. A magical fruit appeared on the ground. The hero immediately picked it up and took a bite. He could taste a slight flavor of pear or apple. The guy realized that taste didn't play a role. He needed to check his stats. Yukito realized that his stats had increased thanks to the magic fruit. Although its effect is minor, even he can become a strong warrior. After that, the hero began a brutal hunt for the ants. He fought and ate and fought. During this day, the hero was very tired of the taste of fruit. He decided to fortify himself with the food that his sister gave him with him after lunch. The guy decided to see if he had already reached his pumping limit. Yukito was glad that he had finally reached the intermediate combat level. Finally, the young. If you enjoyed this video, please consider like, comment, and subscribing to my channel for part 2. Thanks for watching, ninjas.